Hi, I'm Dan Cortopassi. Today I'm reviewing a pair of HO-scale bulkhead flatcars from Rapido trains. My models are decorated for British Columbia Railway, one with BCOL reporting marks and the other with BCIT reporting marks. The MSRP for individual cars is $54.95. Rapido also offers a 6-car set for $329.70. I paid $45.99 for my BCOL car from Lombard Hobbies in March 2023. I bought the BCIT car for the same price, also from Lombard Hobbies, in November 2023. Since we have two models, we'll start the review at 200 possible points. The cars come in a cardboard box with a clear plastic window on top. Inside, a 2-piece plastic cradle protects the model. Well, isn't this lovely? I've never had a model completely disintegrate right out of the box before. Okay, so I can almost hear some people saying, Dan, you didn't take the little foam things out of the box before you removed the car. Let's take a closer look at what actually happened, though. If you'll notice, you can see the small parts like the crossover platforms and grab irons already loose in the box, so I didn't knock them off when removing the car from the box. They were already like that. The bulkheads were also already detached. Because I've never had this happen before, I actually bought a second car. This is brand new, pristine in the box, never been opened. Let's try this again. This time I'll remove the foam thingies first. Hey, it came out in one piece. Oh, wait. Well, at least this one is only broken on one end and the crossover platforms and grab irons are still in place. A layer of clear plastic film is wrapped around the middle portion of the car for some additional protection. Well, this one's a real mess. I've never had one this bad before. Because of this, I went and did something I don't normally do, and I watched some other YouTube reviews of these cars. At least 2 other reviewers had the same problem. I don't think either of them had one completely fall apart, but they had at least one bulkhead fall off. Also, one of my viewers told me that the same thing happened to him. So that's 5 different models shipped at 5 different times because I bought both of my cars separately. That's way too much for it to be damaged in shipment. So, this is way beyond just taking 5 points for damage. So I've heard it suggested that these little foam pieces may actually be the culprit because they apply some pressure to the bulkheads. So, this is something new I haven't seen before, and there's nothing on the box that tells you should remove these first. I know some other models I've seen warnings like, don't pick the model up by the dynamic brake section or something like that. But there's nothing on the Rapido box that tells you have to open it in a certain way. So, this may be part of the problem. So, could I send these cars back to Rapido? Yeah, probably. I'm sure they might take care of it, but, I have to review the models as they come to me. So here we go. On the BCOL car, I'm taking 5 points for the bulkhead falling off on one end. I'm taking 5 points for the bulkhead falling apart. I'm taking the same points for the bulkhead on the other end. I'm taking 5 points each for both crossover platforms falling off. I'm taking 5 points for the grab irons. And I'm taking 5 points for the damaged corner step. On the BCIT car, I'm taking 5 points for the bulkhead falling off and 5 points for the bulkhead falling apart. Each model comes with a small parts bag. The bag has some detail parts including air hoses, ACI labels, and what look to be tie-down attachments. Inside there's a sheet with some prototype information on one side and exploded view drawings on the other. I can't say for certain that the foam is the problem, but as I mentioned, it does seem to put some pressure on the bulkheads. I would use these boxes with caution. So because the cars are in the condition that they're in, I'm going to have to change the order of the review up a little bit. As you may know, I always do the standards and operations tests before I've done any work to the cars. That way I can be sure that nothing that I've done has affected the coupler height or anything like that. So I'm going to do the standards and operations next, and then we're going to go to the rip track segment and I'm going to fix the cars. And after that, then we'll go and do the rest of the review. The cars have metal knuckle couplers on both ends. Looking for a match on the horizontal center line, the coupler on the A end of the BCOL car is low, so I'm taking 5 points. The coupler on the B end is close enough to call it good. The coupler on the A end of the BCIT car is high. The coupler on the B end is low. All the wheels on both cars are engaged according to the NMRA standards gauge. Neither has any significant body wobble. With all of its parts on the scale, the BCOL car weighs 5.7 ounces. The BCIT car weighs the same. The NMRA recommended weight for a car of this length is about 6 ounces even. It's great that these cars are almost at the recommended weight, even without a load. The cars are free rolling. Okay, let's fix these things. This is more work than I usually do in the rip track segment, but I need the cars intact to continue the review. Since it's in better shape, I'll start with the BCIT car. The bulkheads are made of a metal piece with 2 plastic vertical channels and a plastic end cage. Since these are dissimilar materials, I'll use a piece of scrap wire to apply some CA to the edges of the plastic end part. Now I can put the 2 pieces together and hold them for a few seconds until the glue sets. There are pins on the bulkhead that fit into holes on the top of the flat car deck. One of mine is broken off, but there are still enough to keep things aligned. It was a little tricky to get the bulkhead back on the deck and make sure all the pins were engaged. Once I had it, I secured it with some liquid styrene cement inside the end cage and also on the sides. A little paint bubbled out under the side pieces, but this should disappear with a little weathering. That's looking better. After doing a couple of these, I realized I could put the plastic end cage on first before the metal part of the bulkhead. This makes it a little easier to glue the parts from the inside where it won't show as much. After gluing back on the loose crossover platforms and grab irons, these now look like they should. Since they're metal, the bent stirrups can be coaxed back into shape with pliers. Because it's my preference, I'm going to swap the stock couplers for Katie's. I'll start by removing the draft gear box lid. The air hose can be detached from the draft gear box lid by prying it gently. After removing the original coupler and spring, I can insert a Katie whisker coupler. Since the model had long shank couplers, I'm using Katie 156s. I ended up having to do a little filing to get the coupler to swing freely side to side. With the new couplers, the A end of the BCOL car ended up at the right height, but the B end is now high. To lower the B end of the car, first I'll remove the truck. Then I'll file some material from the top of the bolster. The BCIT car ended up a little high on the A end, and I used the same procedure to fix it. The air hoses supplied in the parts bag have a pin on the back. The exploded view drawings are less than helpful about what to do with this part. It appears intended to fit in a hole on the bottom of the draft gear box. It sticks out so far though that these would likely interfere with the operation of the couplers. This would be an issue with the stock couplers as well. Because I want to actually run these cars, I'm going to leave the air hoses off. According to the information supplied in the box, the model is based on a bulkhead flat car design built in the 1970s and 80s by several manufacturers. Bulkhead flats can be used for a wide variety of loads that don't need to be protected from the elements. The bulkheads keep the loads from shifting beyond the ends of the car. I wasn't able to find a photo of any BCIT cars like this model. I did find a couple of photos of BCOL cars with numbers close to the one on my model. The model appears to be a close match. The brochure says that some of these cars were rebuilt with center beams, and I found a few photos like that. In the photos I saw, instead of a continuous center beam, the cars had a series of posts, and the stake pockets on the side had been replaced with ratchets. Rapido's brochure says these cars are appropriate for the 1970s through the present day. The paint on the cars is thin and opaque. The markings are crisp and the tiny writing is legible with magnification. At the corners, the cars have freestanding wire grab irons and metal stirrup steps. On the ends, most of the ladder rungs are molded plastic. The long horizontal grab that I had to repair on my BCOL car is made of wire. The cars have uncoupling levers and photo-etched crossover platforms. There are also markings on the interfacing parts of the bulkheads. On top, the cars have real wood decking. About half of the stake pockets have rectangular indentations. The others have small holes in them. Underneath, the cars have nice brake system detail. The cars have metal wheels with the standard RP25 tread profile. The roller bearing end caps on the trucks don't rotate. Let's see what we've got. Both cars were falling apart when taken out of the box, so I took a total of 50 points in the packaging category. There were coupler height issues, so I took 15 points in the standards and operation category. That leaves us with 135 out of 200 possible points, which averages to 67.5, which would be a D+ on a report card. Individually, the BCIT car scored 80, and the BCOL car scored 55. Uh-oh. After fixing them up, these are nice looking cars. However, given the level of damage, I can't recommend them. I'm giving them a red signal. So I knew the British Columbia car was going to be a fail the minute I took it out of the box and it completely fell apart. I've said before that I reserve the right to do an automatic fail on any model that can't perform as intended, and if this car didn't meet that criteria, then I don't know what does. So even if the model hadn't failed on points, it would have failed on that basis. The other car was a little better, so that gives me some hope. You know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think Rapido has the makings of a great company, but they really need to handle their quality control. So after all is said and done, this is still a pretty nice looking car. However, given all the issues, I just can't recommend it. If you like this video, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps. Stay tuned and thanks for watching.